Here's a ship taller than a 20-story building, and it floats. It takes thousands of workers 3 years to build just one of these. Welcome back. Today, we're building the world's biggest ship from a single sheet of steel. It all starts here, with steel plates as big as a tennis court.
First, machines blast them clean and coat them with primer paint. Then, a plasma torch cuts the shapes. It slices through inch-thick steel like paper.
Look how clean that cut is. Not one rough edge anywhere.
The flat plates are easy. But a ship's hull is curved. So a giant press bends each plate into a smooth curve. Watch the metal roll. Cold steel bends like it's soft clay.
These curved plates form the bow, the sharp front that cuts the water. Every plate now heads to the welding shop. That's where the ship takes shape.
First, welding machines join the flat plates into panels the size of a house. A welding arm runs down the seam. It never stops, never shakes. Sparks fly the whole time, but the machine holds a perfectly straight line. Next, workers weld steel ribs onto every panel. That's what makes them strong.
Now the flat panels get folded up into solid steel blocks.
Cranes lift each steel wall into place, and welders lock them together.
Just one of these blocks can weigh as much as 100 cars. And believe it or not, this is still just a tiny piece of the ship. These blocks now join into even bigger ones. They call them megablocks. A megablock is a whole slice of the ship built on the ground.
Before it ever goes up, workers fill it with everything hidden inside.
Miles of pipe snake through the block, bolted down one by one.
Then come the cables. A single ship holds enough wire to cross the country.
Workers slide long air ducts along the ceiling and clamp them tight.
Doing all this on the ground now saves them months of work later.
The finished megablock is ready at last. Now the hard part begins. The biggest crane on the site swings over to lift it.
Look at the size of that block behind me. Would you work here? Tell me below.
The first block is called the keel. It's the ship's backbone. The crane lowers it onto blocks on the dock floor, inch by inch. A laser checks its dead level before anyone welds a thing. Now the next megablock floats in overhead. Watch it drop into place. The two huge blocks meet with a gap thinner than your finger.
Welders close the joint from inside and out. Now they're one solid piece.
Block by block, the bottom of the ship spreads across the dock. Then the sides go up. The walls climb higher every single day. Next, the crane sets the pointed bow onto the very front of the hull. The curved stern closes off the back. The hull is nearly whole. Stand back and you can finally see it. That's a ship. But right now it's just an empty steel shell, open to the sky. Next, they build up. Deck after deck, the ship grows tall.
The cranes stack whole deck sections on top of the hull.
Each deck lands, gets welded, and the next one goes right on top. A big ship like this can stack up 16 decks high. That's taller than a 15-story building floating on the sea.
Workers weld the inner walls that split each deck into rooms.
From the outside, it's still just gray steel with big open holes. Those holes are waiting for something clever. Whole rooms built somewhere else. Because the cabins don't get built inside the ship at all.
They're built on their own line, like cars on an assembly track.
Each cabin comes out finished completely. Bed, carpet, lights, even the bathroom. The whole bathroom is one sealed pod that slides right in. Now watch this. A crane lifts a finished cabin into the air. It slides into the open hole like a drawer into a dresser.
One after another, hundreds of these cabins slide in and fill the decks.
In a few weeks, the ship goes from empty to full of rooms. Sliding cabins in like drawers. Which part surprised you most? Drop it below. But rooms don't move a ship. Down below, the real power lives. A crane lowers a giant engine into the belly of the ship. Just one of these engines is bigger than a school bus. And a ship this size needs several of them working together. They settle onto huge steel mounts, and workers bolt them down. At the very back, the ship gets its strangest looking part. A pod that holds the propeller and spins all the way around. That's how these ships steer. The whole engine pod turns. Workers press the bronze propeller onto the shaft and lock it tight. One propeller is wider than 3 cars parked side by side. Up at the front, workers cut round tunnels straight through the bow. Small side propellers drop in. They push the ship sideways into the dock. Now the ship can move and steer. Time to make it beautiful.
First, the balconies. Workers bolt steel rails along the whole side.
Then a crane fits glass panels into every rail, floor to ceiling. Hundreds of balconies appear down the side, all in perfect, straight rows. Up top, a crane lifts huge curved windows into the front wall. Now comes the part everyone loves the most, the top decks. A crane lowers a finished swimming pool onto the deck in one piece. Then the water slides go up, curling high above the deck. Workers hang rows of orange lifeboats on strong arms down both sides. Then the biggest single piece of all rises into the air. The funnel.
The crane sets it on the very top, and workers weld it down.
Inside, a crane lowers a tall glass elevator into the atrium.
Workers slide the escalator steps in, and the middle of the ship opens up. From gray steel to a floating city. And it happened fast. Now only one thing is still missing from this whole giant ship. Color. I'm standing on the top deck, higher than a 10-story building. Hit subscribe.
First comes the bottom. Deep red paint covers everything below the waterline.
That red paint keeps sea life from sticking to the steel.
Then the sprayers coat the towering sides in bright, spotless white.
Painters roll the ship's name across the bow in tall, dark letters. As the paint dries, the whole giant finally looks brand new. The ship is done, but it's still sitting on dry land.
So they open the gates and let the sea rush into the dock.
Water climbs up the red hull, higher and higher every minute.
Then something amazing happens. The whole giant lifts off the ground.
For the very first time, this whole giant ship is floating on water. Small tugboats nudge it out of the dock and into open water. Out at sea, the engines start and the propellers bite the water. The ship pushes forward on its own for the very first time. A white wave curls off the bow. Thousands of tons, gliding like it's easy. And that's how the world's biggest ship gets made. Thanks for watching. See you next time.